Our guest this week was born in Liberia, which broke out in a civil war when he was 7. His dad and adopted brother were both killed during the fighting. At age 9, he came to Findlay Lake, New York with his mom and sister. He earned a BA degree in sociology from Michigan State University while playing football for 4 years. From 2008 to 2011, he played in the NFL, and since 2022, he's been a sideline reporter for WJR and its MSU Spartans football broadcast. His name, Jehuu Caulcrick. And I'm Jack Krasula, and this is Anything is Possible on 760 WJR. I'm Jack Krasula. This is Anything is Possible, and with Jehuu Caulcrick. Since 2022, he's been the sideline reporter for WJR and its MSU Spartan football broadcast. Jehuu, welcome, and an honor to have you in the studio.
Hey, thanks for having me. Truly blessed to be here today with you, Jack.
All right, let's start by talking about your childhood in Liberia, your mom and your dad.
Yeah, I had a really good upbringing in Liberia. Big soccer, country. We loved to play soccer there. Our house was probably about 2 miles away from one of the big soccer stadiums there. So every Saturday, my dad and I would go to the soccer match, and on the way home, we always stopped and got an ice cream cone on the way back, because back in Africa, the temperature is always ice cream weather. So had that opportunity to do that, and just run around, play. The people, the culture, very colorful culture in Liberia, very competitive people. I know we used to be in our backyards and have our own Olympic games of, different sports, that we would do each, and whoever won, go, you get these points. So really good time, really competitive, and had a lot of really good friends there.
Your dad was head of security for a Liberian general. What's the biggest thing you learned from Dad?
The biggest thing is always perseverance. No matter what life throws at you, always it's thrown at you for a purpose. There's always a reason why you encounter something, and always figure out that reason and persevere through that. So that's the biggest lesson I took from him.
Your mom and hero, Bonita,
yes,
was first a nursing student and then a resort manager. What's the biggest thing you've learned from Mom?
Her strength. Through everything, her strength, and always that passion to keep going. And she's a very selfless person. She rather give what she doesn't have to someone else that needs it more than her. So that's something that I take away in my day-to-day now, and just giving people different experiences, even if it's they want to go to a Spartan game for the first time, and I'm able to grant that experience for them. So that's something that I learned from my mother, that selflessness.
All right. Tell us about Liberia and its 2.5 million people.
So, we have enough time. I'm going to go through each one of those 2.5 million. Like I said, it's a very competitive country. A colorful country, prideful country. They're the capital of Liberia, Monrovia, which the freed slaves from America went back to, and Monrovia is actually named after President James Monroe. The flag of Liberia is red, white, and blue. Instead of 50 stars, there's only one star on there. A lot of the cultures and stuff came from America. They called it Little America in a way. Big, in the rubber and iron, Firestone has a big plant back there where my uncles, they all worked at the Firestone plant there as engineers, and the rubber trees, going there, tapping the rubber trees. So a lot of good resources come from Liberia.
All right, let's go back to 1989. You're 7 years old. Life is good. And then Civil War breaks out. Please.
Yes. Life is good. We talked about, previous nights having the Olympic Games in the backyard lit up by the moonlight. The entire, backyard's illuminated by the bright moon that's coming in there. And before that, a few weeks prior to that, you heard some ramblings of, there's going to be a war, And as a kid, you see war on TV. It's not in your backyard. You play war as a kid. You're running around. So my cousins and I, we were like, yeah, we're going to do this, win the war, we're going to do that. And as the days got closer, I remember specifically from a distance, you would hear some gunfire, and we weren't quite sure what was happening. It wasn't like, here you have a news reporter on the ground at the time saying this. The way that we found out, my uncle came home from work, and he had just been stopped at a checkpoint there and put through, torturous things to try to get him to talk about, who he is, where he's, is he with the government or is he with the rebel soldiers? So he comes to, my grandmother's house, because we were all at my grandmother's house at that time. And he's like, you guys, the war's here, go inside, stay inside. And when we went inside, it got progressively closer and progressively louder, the shooting and the firing.
Started in 89, lasted till 97.
Yes.
Over 200,000 people were slaughtered. Many of the young boys were forced to fight, and it hit home. You saw your adopted brother killed. Your grandfather was shot. Talk about that.
Yeah, so, you talk about that, and you said, many little kids were picked up and, made to turn to child soldiers. And the really crazy thing about it is as the war comes now and is literally in our backyard, there's literally army tanks and soldiers in our yard, and we're inside. You leave to go to a safer place. You're walking 9-10 miles a day, refugee camp to refugee camp. En route to those refugee camps, you talk about those child soldiers. Not a couple weeks ago, I was in the backyard playing with those kids. We had those Olympic Games with those kids. And now these kids are drugged up on opium and, brainwashed, and they're here carrying AK-47s that's taller than them. So those are some of the things that happened in that war. 2 weeks ago, we're playing soccer in the backyard. Now these kids are, on drugs and carrying, firearms. Going, refugee camp, there's like 10, 12 of us in a group with backpacks on, sleeping bags in the backpacks, and cookie sheets in there. So hopefully that can stop the bullet, from coming through. And you get to, the refugee camp, you pull your stuff out, you set up camp, and the next day we're going, to another refugee camp, and we're all in line. My grandmother's in the front, my grandfather's in the back, and all the kids are in the middle there. And all of a sudden we hear, I'm hit. And my grandmother's like, oh, no, we got to keep going. He's like, no, I'm hitting the leg. So we stop, turn around, and my grandmother had a bandana on, and she took that off. She was the one to take the bullet out of his leg, tie the bandana around it, and we had no choice. We had to keep going, and he was able to get some help when we were at the next refugee camp.
We're talking to Jehuu Caulcrick, whose autobiography is entitled Run, From Civil War to the NFL. And I'm Jack Krasula, and this is Anything is Possible on 760 WJR. Welcome back to Anything is Possible. I'm Jack Krasula. We're with Jehuu Caulcrick. He was 7 years old when civil war broke out in Liberia. His adopted brother, grandfather was shot, adopted brother killed, and your dad was murdered.
Yeah, when the war was breaking out, like you alluded to at the beginning, my dad was, with the government. And a lot of those government officials had to, for the safety of their families, had to leave their families and go into different location, for strategy for the war, for hiding. But the biggest thing is for protection for their families. So my dad was, gone from us, at that point in time. And the way that we found out that he was killed was actually reading it in the newspaper. My mom was back there. We're sitting at the doctor's office because this was right around the time that we were, trying to get everything squared away for us to come to America. And, there was a headline in a newspaper that said 500 Liberians killed. And she picks it up, and they have a list of the names. She's going through it, and she knew exactly what she was looking for. And there was my father's name. And so it was, definitely, something that's tragic, something that's, in some ways feel incomplete because I never really said a proper goodbye to my father. I never had an opportunity to properly, a burial for him. Don't, know where a grave site is for him to go back and, go and visit, that type of thing. So, but overall, come from a family, a background of strong faith, that I know, like he always says, these obstacles are placed in front of you for a reason. I lived through him. I lived for him. Back even when I was playing football, scored a touchdown or anything, I'll always point to the sky because I knew he was always up there watching me. So, like I said, the thing that carried us through the war and everything was the side of the faith that my family presented, and it's something that I carry with me today. I remember every time we were leaving one place, going to making that 10-mile walk to another refugee camp, my grandmother would get us all. We'll all huddle around, say a prayer wherever we were leaving. And this is crazy, Jack. Crazy story. Talk about God works in mysterious ways. We were leaving our grandmother's house, and she got us all in the front yard on the porch, and we all, had a prayer, and in that prayer she's like, Lord, protect us on the way, protect our home, put your blood on our home to protect it from evil, from everything. And crazy thing is, we go to refugee camps, we come back, we do full circle, we come back to the house, and the church that was next to it was blown up. The other houses were either blown up or occupied by the rebel soldiers. Our house was left untouched. There was the only one thing was there was one bullet hole in the house there, but everything else was protected. And this all goes back to the faith that she implored upon us, and those prayers that kept us protected.
All right, from 7 to 9, you went from refugee camp to refugee camp. You ran and walked a total of 700 miles.
Yes.
If you walk from Detroit to Atlanta, that's 722 miles. 7-year-old kid. You get to America. You go to a little town in New York. How and why?
Yeah. The crazy thing I always tell people, when you're a kid, you spin the globe and you put your finger there. Wherever it stops, that's where you're going to live. I try to use that story, but like a globe, you still wouldn't be able to pinpoint Findlay Lake, a small town outside of Buffalo, New York. My mother had some friends in the surrounding areas there that she knew, and they were getting rid of their house. And when we came and, had the opportunity to go there, but really small farm community, talk about shocks in all different ways, from culture shock coming from Africa, where all black people coming to this town in Findlay Lake, where we're the only black people, farm community. My graduating class in high school was 26 kids in that. But it was such a blessing. The community took us in. They took us in with open arms. They welcomed us. I remember, the first day we got there, the very next day, some neighbors came over with their kids. The Gordons, Victor Gordon, Jennifer Gordon, Jim and Sharon Gordon. They were our first friends when we came to America, and I remember riding bikes with them. It was back in the good days where you would pool your money, your allowance together. You go to the corner store and buy a bunch of popsicles, ice creams, and go to the lake and the lake swing there and just have a good time. But it was definitely a culture shock, not without setbacks or anything like that, but definitely a blessing to be in a new environment.
We're talking to Jehuu Caulcrick. Jehuu, you are the epitome of, with God, anything is possible. You had an awful childhood, yet you've become a tremendous person. Great outlook on life, all the right values, great future. How?
The big thing is
all that ice cream. Was it all that ice cream?
It was all that ice cream. The big thing is it's my faith. that's one of the biggest reasons that, I got through all the adversity that was presented to me, throughout that war, and my upbringing, because God has a plan. God has a plan for everybody, and it's what you do with that plan. It's really what can propel you to the next level. If you listen to his plan, you follow his plan, and you're not sucked into that instant gratification. Sometimes there's that Garth Brooks songs, Unanswered Prayers, thank God for unanswered prayers. We pray for things that we want right away because that's going to make us feel good. And God knows what we need. Sometimes necessity is better than feelings at that time. So those are the things. And I stayed true to my faith. I stayed true to his plan for me. And, I was given an opportunity. I was given a second lease on life, I always like to say. Given a second lease on life. And I felt it's important for me to use his voice to help elevate others who might be going through a struggle, help elevate, somebody who at the time where they feel like this is the lowest of low and they can't come from that, and be like, hey, maybe my story will be like, well, if this guy could do that and, persevere through that, I can as well.
We're talking to Jehuu Caulcrick, who won the New York class title in the shot put and also was a phenomenal football player where his class 26 total people. And God brought you an angel by the name of Coach Howard McMullen. Tell us about Coach Mac.
Yes. Going to a small school. We were the smallest school in the state of New York to field an 11-man football team. And for 4 years in a row, we went to the state finals. And for 4 years in a row, we lost in the state finals. So we're the Buffalo Bills of high school football. And, I grew up playing soccer. Didn't know about football, but when I was watching, there was one person I watched, and it was this guy, Terrell Davis, and he was number 30. He was a running back for the Broncos. I saw him playing the Super Bowl when he had the migraines, and he went blind momentarily and still played the game and persevered through that, and he scored a touchdown, helped his team that season, helped his team win the Super Bowl, and just a person that he was. And all my friends went to football practice. I had nothing left to do because summer soccer was over. I went to the school. I went to Coach Mack and said, hey, I want to play football. I want to be a running back. I want to be Terrell Davis, and I want to be number 30. He said, you can be a running back. You can be number 30, but I can't promise you'll be Terrell Davis. I said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I'll take it. And Coach Mack from there on, he was also a math teacher in the school. He just became a father figure to me.
And now, today, there's kids in East Lansing that say, I want to be Jehuu Caulcrick. And I'm Jack Krasula, and this is Anything is Possible on 760 WJR. This is Anything is Possible. I'm your host, Jack Krasula. We're with Jehuu Caulcrick. Jehuu, how'd you ever get from a little town in New York to East Lansing and talk about East Lansing? That's 4 years.
Yes. I had the opportunity. I playing football in high school, turned out to be good at football. Started to get some letters from colleges.
That's an understatement, Jehuu.
Started to get some letters from colleges. I was actually blessed with the opportunity. I had about 31 Division I offers coming out of high school, but a guy stuck with me. His name is Jeff Stoutland. He's now the offensive line coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. He won my mother over. He would call my school and get my entire syllabus. So every, at the beginning of the week, if I had a test on Thursday, so he would call my mom, hey, Jay has a test in social studies on Thursday. Is he ready for it? She's like, oh, this guy cares about your school. So he was the guy that got me the opportunity, to go to MSU. Tremendous experience going there, definitely not without its adversities, without its ups and downs. Was able to get there, play running back, follow great running backs such as TJ Duckett, Cedric Irvin, those guys, and a great running mate of mine, Javon Ringer. We became really close. Our families became close. Every night we were rooming together. His mom, my mom, his dad was actually a pastor in Ohio, and we'll come to our room the night before games, have a little church service, for that. It didn't matter the games, the X's and O's. It was about our faith carrying us through each game. So I had the opportunity to have some success at MSU.
You go from high school where there's 26 kids in your graduating class, and then you come to MSU, East Lansing, walk into a room, and there's 300 or 400 kids in a classroom.
Yeah, so the first class I go to, there was one of those intro-level classes, and I get there, and it's stadium seat, and the teacher's using a microphone, and look, it's like my entire school, K through 12, in one room there. But that's the beauty of it, and then being part of a team, coming with guys from Florida, from Samoa, from Texas, Pennsylvania. Guys from all different walks of life coming together for one common goal, and that's to win a game, win a championship. That's something that's really cool.
He became an MSU captain, and he had 39 rushing touchdowns, which is the second best in MSU history, 4 behind Lorenzo White's 43.
Yeah, I always say Lorenzo got a lot more carries and more opportunities. If I didn't have to split time, I would get him. But I love Lo. He's a great guy. We call him the godfather of running backs.
So, all right. Speaking of a great guy, your senior year, you get a new head coach, Mark D'Antonio.
Yes, Coach D, what a guy. Another guy. I was blessed with having, coaches. I had 2 coaches that were like father figures to me. Coach Howard McMullen in high school, and then Coach D'Antonio. Coach D'Antonio led with faith. Coach D'Antonio led with perseverance. His goal was to take us to become men, to become great fathers, great husbands, great brothers when we left Michigan State. And I had so much fun being part of his team, and I had success, that year when he was there. It just shows, once again, just leading with faith. I led the school with touchdowns, 22 that year. It's, just those things. And he's such a great guy. Still have an opportunity to talk to him now. Going to see him again this weekend. So, just a tremendous person.
All right. The most important question about your 4 years at East Lansing. What's the best ice cream shop in East Lansing?
The MSU Dairy Store. That's definitely the best one, the MSU Dairy Store, and then followed by Tasty Twist. That's another good one down there.
So, all right. You've told me, Jack, college is team, team, team. What is the NFL?
The NFL is a business. It's a business that you got to sometimes put, team is still preached, but at the end of the day, it's not always practiced. I've been in many locker rooms where, we finished practice. Me and a teammate were going up to lunch. They're like, hey, let me see you for a second. I was like, I'll see you up there. Come back down. There's someone else in his locker. And all you get is a garbage bag to take your stuff to the next, and you wait for a call from another team. It's definitely a business. But don't get me wrong. It afforded me great opportunities, great exposure, great opportunities to set up myself for my future, my family. And definitely the Shield is something. It's a blessing if you have an opportunity to play in the NFL. But you just have to have that mindset.
All right. Since 2022, you've worked for JR as an on-field announcer for the Spartans football games.
Yeah.
So you're on the field, playing Michigan, the band, the fight song, the fans screaming. What's that feeling like?
It's anytime I have the opportunity to be on the football field, especially in Spartan Stadium, it's a blessing. You get a rush that comes through your body. And so quickly that rush goes away when the first hit occurs near you, and you're like, man, I'm glad I'm still not out there getting pounded like that. But it's great. It's been terrific having the opportunity to do sideline work with JR on Spartan Media Network, working alongside legend like George Blaha, and working with Jason Strayhorn. But it gives me an opportunity to give my unique sideline analysis.
What's it like being here today and working with a legend in my own mind, Jack Krasula.
Well, the first Jack knows how to pick a good breakfast spot, because when we first met, we went to Crumpets. Shout out to Crumpets. I had a beautiful omelet that Jack treated me to. But no, it's definitely it's an honor to be here with you, Jack.
Okay, from 2008 to 2011, you played in the NFL, a business. Talk about that chapter of your life.
Yeah, once again, that Garth Brooks song, Thank God for Unanswered Prayers. When the draft started, I wanted to go to Buffalo because that was my hometown. And the Bills called me. They're like, hey, in the 5th round, we're going to pick you up. And so they get up there, and it's like, in the 5th round, the Buffalo Bills select running back Xavier Omar. I was like, wait a second, that's not me. They chose another running back, but I was fortunate enough to go to the New York Jets, where the head coach at the time was Eric Mangine. My running backs coach was a Spartan great, Jimmy Ray, one of the first black quarterbacks to play in the Rose Bowl, and they're going to be honored this weekend at the 66-65 team. He gave me that tutelage, and I was under a great fullback named Tony Richardson. He was in his 15th year at that time, taught me how to be a pro, and I got to finish my career in Buffalo. And go back to the unanswered prayer stuff. If I would have began my career in Buffalo, I would not have lasted as long as I did in the NFL, because I would have been a local hometown kid. My friends there, you have a little bit of money, don't know how to be a pro, don't know how to take care of your body. I don't think I would have lasted, but I learned along the 2 different stops in New York and San Francisco that I ended my career the right way.
All right, God works in strange ways, that you said. And there was a young lady that was living in Buffalo by the name of Briar.
Yes, in Niagara Falls on the Canadian side. Yes. So me and some buddies went out to the falls, saw her and some of her friends there. I tried my best pickup lines, and we kept in contact. And sure enough, now 7 years. We just celebrated our 7th wedding anniversary. We have a 3-year-old beautiful girl named Nevaeh, which is heaven spelled backwards. And we're expecting a baby boy in October.
You outkicked your punt coverage on that one.
I absolutely did. And I'll be the first to admit it. She's a beautiful person inside and out.
And I'm Jack Krasula, and this is Anything is Possible on 760 WJR. I'm Jack Krasula. This is Anything is Possible. And we're talking to Jehuu Caulcrick, whose autobiography is entitled Run, From Civil War to the NFL. You give a lot of speeches. You're pretty good.
Thank you.
What's your basic message?
Yeah, the biggest thing I speak on is 3 different pillars. One is handling and overcoming adversity. The second pillar is leadership. And that third pillar, which I think holds that third pillar is the foundation, which is discipline.
All right. You talk a lot to young people. What's the biggest thing that our young people need and want today?
I think a lot of the young people want that instant gratification. My goal is to talk to them about it takes that discipline to get to that instant gratification piece. Set goals for yourself. Have a mission, vision, and value statement for yourself. How you lead your life day to day. Do they fall into the mission, vision, and values? Have those core characteristics. I have a core characteristic for myself. We have a family core characteristics that's written on the wall at our house that we abide by. Every single day. Those are how we live our lives, and that's what I try to tell young people these days. Have those core characteristics that you live your life by. Every decision you make, it'll fall into that core characteristic.
Well, I think I've been in your house, and it says Briar, yes, dear. That's the
Exactly.
All right. A boy is the only thing God can use to make a man, and a girl is the only thing God can use to make a woman. Through the years, I've had different guests who have been experts. They spend their whole life talking to young people, and they say, one piece of advice to young people, forget yourself. which is so anti to what they're hearing, from the Google, etc., the phones. Jehuu, how does a young person do that?
I think it's tough. And, like we talked about, discipline and being, in my core characteristic there, the word selfless is in there. You have to be selfless. You have to be able to put others first, and you have to do things without expecting something in return for that. And if you can learn to grasp and embrace that, then those other things will follow. The pieces will fall into place.
What advice do you give to parents this evening?
Love your kid. Just love your kid. They're going to make different decisions. They're going to make mistakes. Be alongside for the ride. That's what, my wife and I, say. We try to be the best parents that we can be to our daughter. But the biggest thing is we're going to shower her with love every single day, every single night. I'm going to get home from work. I'm going to put the phone aside. I'm going to get on the floor and play dinosaurs with her. I'm going to, play wrestling with her.
You are big enough to be a dinosaur.
Yeah, but I'm just going to shower her with love.
All right. Single moms and tough love. What do you say?
Yeah, because I grew up, with a single mother. So, she's got to wear the hat of the nurturing mother and the disciplinarian father. She has to wear both hats. And she has to understand that at the end of the day, all that's going into it is for the right reason, to make you the best person that you can be. And I understood that at a young age, and I was fortunate enough to understand that she had those two hats, and just always want to have your kid make you proud.
If there's a man listening tonight who's abandoned his children, what do you say to him, Jehuu?
I say it's not too late. It's not too late to fight for your family. It's not too late to make amends. Get with the Lord, because He will lead you in the right path to rekindle that relationship. Try your best, because there are a lot of people out there that wish they had a father, but they don't. There's a lot of people out there that wish they could play catch with their dads, could go to a football game or basketball game with their dad, but they don't have that opportunity. And being a parent, being a dad is a true blessing. So, don't waste that blessing.
God has blessed you in many ways.
Yes.
One of which is that you're an old soul. Anybody that listens to you says, this is what Zig Ziglar taught. This is what John Wooden taught. Zig Ziglar says, you can get everything in life you want if you'll help enough other people get what they want. And you would say, absolutely, Jack. Most people would say, not today. Why do you believe in this old wisdom?
Because I was brought up by old wisdom. We talk about my high school coach, Coach Howard McMullen. He was a guy that, he is old school values, instilled that in us. Enjoying the simple pleasures of a milkshake, and an old school milkshake. He brought it in and taught us how to make an old fashioned milkshake. Just enjoying those simple pleasures. Sometimes we forget about those things. We forget about, how things were just, simple, and just appreciate things. The story about getting your friends, riding your bike, going to the store, buying popsicles and cakes and ice cream, and just, eating those things, having those like pure, joyous fun. Now we try to elevate those to different levels.
You have great enthusiasm, which is one of the best gifts we can have. How do I get that? Go to ice cream shops and
I think you hang around people that's enthusiastic. Enthusiasm's contagious. If you surround yourself with enthusiastic people, high energy people that see the glass as always overflowing instead of just half full, you're going to see it. That's contagious. That will catch with you, and you're going to start seeing it. Like, okay, this guy went through this, and this. Like, at the end of the day, it is. Coming here, got in an accident. What I'm here is it is what it is. At the end of the day, there's more to life. It's bigger than that. The material stuff will come and go, but your person, your enthusiasm, that I'm hoping that me smiling, if someone else is walking down the street and having a bad day, see me smiling and be like, oh, okay, maybe I'll smile. You know, it also, smiling also burns fat.
We have a health food fanatic over here. He says, do as I say, not as I do. All right. A new regime at MSU in the football program. Coach Jonathan Smith. There's only been a few games so far. Your thoughts?
I love them. And we got to give a lot of credit to athletic director Alan Hallard. He definitely did his due diligence on what the university needed, as opposed to that, go back to that necessity over feelings. A lot of people wanted to feel good about the hire, wanted a sexy pick and everything. But Alan knew what the university needed. And we need someone that comes in that has good values, good faith, family first, and want to build a program, views Michigan State as a destination, not a stepping stone to somewhere else. So Coach Smith and his staff definitely check all those boxes.
Jehuu Caulcrick, Dad's looking down from heaven and says, that's my boy. That's Jehuu. Keep making him proud every day.
That's the goal. I appreciate it.
Okay. Please join us next week. Until then, I'm Jack Krasula. Thanks for listening, and make it a great week, because with God, anything is possible. Spawn. Believe in yourself.